breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hello, welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got a great podcast for you. We're going to be joined by one of our good friends, Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets. We have to chat it up with him about what we've seen here in the early part of the season, some of these young teams that have been able to rise up. We're going to preview the slate that we've got for Wednesday with him as well. In the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you've got one or two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, LRCM maybe does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, boy, did we have a fun day of baseball on Tuesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The New York Mets continue to struggle. 8-3, the Seattle Mariners get the job done here. Bulk guy Jonah Tong, well, he gave up a bulk ton of runs, 5 runs for which weren't given up in 3 1/3 innings. You had 3 home runs in this game for the Seattle Mariners going deep off of Mr. Tong. You had home run number 2 of the campaign for the backup catcher in Johnny Perita, and then a little bit earlier on against the opener Oscar Brisbane, Patrick Wisdom, first home run in the campaign. Brisbane gives up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings, and then Cionel Perez from the Washington Nationals, he gives up home run to Julio Rodriguez, 13th home run of the season. He gave up a home run in 2 innings. AJ Minter, a shutout inning, and then Logan Gilbert, 3 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Carson Benjay did take him deep twice, 5th and 6th home runs of the season. From there, Cooper Criswell, 2 shutout innings. Edward Bizarro, 5 outs on the bullpen squirrels. Mariners, by the way, now 33-29, so they've really been able to rise up. They've been able to overtake the Athletics out there in the AL West, but they get the job done against the Chicago Cubs, 2-1 the final. This was a solid start here from Jameis Satayan, 2 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings, helped by the wind blowing in. He did still give up home run to Nick Kurtz, 11th home run of the season, but did his part. Hobie Milner, 5 outs of the bullpen squirrels. Daniel Palencia, a squirrel setting, but how about Gage Jump? He jumped into a great start, 7 innings. He gives up 1 run. Justin Turner, shutout inning. Scott Barlow, Hogan Harris, they piecemeal together to the 9th inning to be able to get that one to the window. Also out there in the West, the Walker Texas Rangers are a game away from 500, 7-4. They take down the St. Louis Cardinals. Dustin May, it was Mayday for him, 9 punch-outs, but 3 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. George Romero gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Gordon Geseffel, pair of outs on the bullpen. He does not give up anything, but Riley O'Brien, he takes the L. Game was 4-4 going in the 9th inning. He gives up 3 runs in the 9th inning. George Soriano prior to that, a shutout inning, and Nathan Eovaldi banged around like a piñata. 11 hits allowed in 6 innings, and he gives up 4 runs, including a homer to Nolan Gorman, 7th home run season, but bullpen at his back. Jalen Beeks, 5 outs on the bullpen squirrels. Cal Quantrill, 1 pitch, 1 out of him, and then Jacob Junis, a shutout inning of his own. Dodgers keep things rolling, 6-5. They take down the Arizona Diamondbacks. Rough one here from Michael Soroka, 4 runs allowed in 6 innings. He gives up a home run to Freddie Freeman, 9th home run of the season. From there, Jonathan Loaiska gives up 2 runs in an inning of work. You did have Kim Ginkel along with Juan Murillo give you a shutout inning, and Eric Lauer, not bad, wasn't long for this game. 2 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings, taken deep by Corbin Carroll, 8th home run of the season. From there, bullpen does their part other than Kyle Hurd. He got hurt, giving up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning, but Edgar Enriquez, Tanner Scott, Great Scott both give you a shout-out inning. Will Klein, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Blake Trinan, he gives you an out of the bullpen scoreless as well. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, they jump aboard the Houston Astros, 10-6. Buccos get the job done. Not what Bubba Chandler was looking for. He gives up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 5 innings as he was taken deep by Yordan Alvarez, 21st home run of the campaign. But Mike Burrows was burrowed up, 6 runs, 5 of which were earned, given up in his 5 innings of work, taken deep twice. O'Neal Cruz, 6th home run of the campaign, and you had home run number 1 for the backup catcher in Endy Rodriguez. A little bit later on, Brandon Lau, he gets loud for his 16th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Brian Abreu. He continues his awful season, 3 runs allowed in an inning of work. Aniel De Los Santos, Steven Okert, both give you a shutout inning. AJ Bluba, scoreless inning. And for the Pirates, you did have Dennis Santana give up 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning out of the bullpen, but that effort from the Astros this late in the game was too little too late as Gregory Soto, pair of outs out of the bullpen to be able to get the save, and Wilber Dotel in long relief, 3 shutout innings of his own. The Royals continue to find ways to lose games. 4-3, the Reds get the job done here. As for the Reds, they had 4 hits and 3 of them flew over the fence. You had Will Benson in the 9th inning with the team down by a run, sent things to extras against Lucas Hursic, 3rd home run of the season. That squanders a really good start from Noah Cameron. Cameron gave up 1 hit, that 1 hit a solo home run to Spencer Sear, 8th home run of the season, but gives up 1 hit over the course of 7 innings. Matt Strahm would then give up a solo home run as well to steer his 9th of the campaign, goes an inning, gives up a run. Hursic gives up that home run in the 9th, and then John Schreiber gives up the RBI single to Blake Dunn that ended the game in the 10th for Andrew Abbott. Gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings, but bullpen has his back. DJ Antone, Sam Mole, Zachary Maxwell, and Brock and Rollberg all able to give you a scoreless inning. The Miami Marlins get a 7-3 win over the Washington Nationals, who are back to 500. Richard Dickey Lovelady, a nice open 2 shutout innings, and then Miles Michaelis gives up 6 runs in 6 innings, including a trio of bombs going deep off of him. Otto Lopez, 5th home run of the season. You had Humberto Hernandez get home run number 4 of the season off of him. Then he would get his 5th home run of the season a little bit later on off of Mitchell Parker. Parker gives up that home run in his inning of work, and then you had the Mac attack. Joe Mack get his first career home run off of Miles Michaelis. Lake Picard, the opener for the Miami Marlins, not bad here. 2 2/3 innings scoreless. From there, John King was the king of 1 2/3 innings scoreless. Ryan Gusso, the projected bulk guy, gives up 3 runs in 2 innings, but everyone else does their part. Calvin Fauché and along with Michael Peterson, they give you a shutout inning apiece. Anthony Bender, pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. For the Minnesota Twins, they get to the Chicago White Sox 6-4 the final. As for Davis Martin, worst start of the season for him. He's been good, but 6 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. From there, Sean Newcomb, Trevor Richards give you 5 outs out of the bullpen, squirrels. Connor Prelip, he does give up 4 runs in 6 innings of his own, but bullpen piecemeals it together. From there, Anthony Banda, a scoreless inning. Yandris Gomez, he was able to give you 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, and Andrew Morris was able to provide a pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless as well. The Atlanta Braves continue to have the best record in all of baseball. 4-3, they get the job done against the Blue Jays. Kevin Gausman gives up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings of work, including a bomb to Matt Olson, 17th home run of the season. From there, Braden Fisher was able to give you a shutout inning. Connor Siebold, Mason Flaherty, they combine for his scoreless inning. Bryce Elder continues to not be elderly. 3 runs allowed in 6 2/3 innings. Kazuma Okamoto, 13th home run of the season, but Robert Suarez, 4 outs out of the bullpen, squirrels, and Raciel Iglesias was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. Guardians get to the New York Yankees, 9-4 the final. Cam Schlittler experiencing some regression, 5 runs, 4 which were earned in 4 1/3 innings. Taken deep in this one for the Guardians, Kyle Manzardo gets a 6th home run in the campaign. From there, Brent Hedrick was able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen, squirrels. Tim Hill gives up a run in an inning. Camilo Duvall, 3 runs allowed in his inning of work. Ryan Yarbrough, a shutout inning. And for Joey Cantillo, does give up 4 runs over the course of 4 innings. Taken deep by Paul Goldschmidt, 7th home run season, but Colin Olerman, Tim Aaron, Hunter Gaddis, Sean Armstrong, Matt Fessa, they all had a fiesta. They all gave you scoreless innings to be able to get that one in. The Red Sox are now 9-20 at home. The Orioles get the job done here by a count of 4-2. For the Red Sox, Connolly early, well, he was out of this game earlier than he would like. 4 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Taken deep by Kobe Mayo, 7th home run of the season. Pete Alonso is 12th. From there, Greg Weiser, 5 outs out of the bullpen, squirrels. Tyler Semenaijo was able to give you 2 scoreless innings. The Wizard of Oz, Shane Baz, looking better here for the Orioles. 2 runs allowed over the course of 7 innings. Andrew Kittredge, Uncle Rico Garcia, they both lend a scoreless inning. The Philadelphia Phillies got themselves a pretty solid start out of Aaron Nola, 3-2. They take down the Slam Diego Padres. Nola's been shaky this season, but 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. He'll take that. He was taken deep in this game by Gavin Sheets. Holy Sheets, his 10th home run of the season. Bullpen from there at his back. Ryan Kirkering, Brad Keller, Yohan Duran, along with Jose Alvarado. I'll give you a scoreless inning. And Randy Vasquez gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. For Vasquez, he was taken deep in this game as it was home run number 14 of the season for Bryce Harper, Yuki Matsui, Jason Adam combined for a shutout inning. Jeremiah Estrada, though, gives up a run in an inning. He takes the L before Bradley Rodriguez was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. For the Tampa Bay Rays, things are looking a little bit shaky. They lose the first 2 games of the series against the Tigers after they looked a little bit, shall we say, less than savory last week. 8-0, Tigers get the job done. Captain Jack Flaherty, best start of the season, 5 shutout innings out of him. Emmanuel De Jesus piggybacks off of him, 4 scoreless innings. And for the Tigers, they were able to get a trio of bombs as Steven Matz, he gives up a pair. Gleyber Torres, 3rd home run of the season, welcome off the injury list. But Wencio Perez is 6th for Matz. 5 outs, and he gave up 5 runs, all of which were not the start he was looking for. Ian Seymour would then give up a home run of his own to Riley Green, 6th home run of the season. Seymour gives up 3 runs in 2 innings. Casey Lugumina, 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Cam Boozer, 2 scoreless innings, and then you had Brian Baker give you a scoreless inning. Ben Williamson, that's a position player, scoreless inning in the 9th inning for the Tampa Bay Rays, but too little too late there. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, they just continue their winning ways. 8-3, they pulverize the San Francisco Giants. They put up a nice 4 spot in the 8th inning, by the way, as for Trevor Michael McDonald, not great, not terrible. 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. For Jake Bauers, he leads the team in home runs for the Brewers, his 10th of the campaign. From there, Eric Miller, scoreless innings, Sam Antiges, he gives an out of the bullpen, gives up a run. Caleb Killian, pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, and then Tristan Beck, 4 runs allowed on 42 pitches in the 8th inning. Kyle Harrison, he continues to be magnificent. Was taken deep in this game. Willie Adames, the former Brewer, his 9th home run season, but 12 punch-outs, allows that 1 run in 5 2/3 innings. Aaron Ashby, 4 outs out of the bullpen, he gives up a run after Uribe gives up a run in an inning. Trevor McGill, he was able to give a scoreless 9th inning to be able to get the Brewers to the window, and then the LA Angels fall to the Colorado Rockies, 8-2 the final in this one for the Colorado Rockies. They got themselves another nice start out of Tomoyuki Sugano, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Blas Castano, 2 scoreless innings out of him. You had from there Juan Mejia give you a scoreless inning, and TJ Shook, I believe his MLB debut, a scoreless inning out of him, and Grayson Rodriguez would like his start back. 8 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings, taken deep by Willie Castro, 3rd home run on the campaign. Hunter Goodman, 15th home run season. TJ Romfield, his 8th. From there, Sam Aldagiri, 5 1/3 innings, scoreless out of the bullpen, but way too little, way too late. The Angels now 23-39 this far this season, and if you're looking at what we've been getting in baseball recently, has been an overwhelming last 7 days in Major League Baseball, as it's been an overwhelming season thus far. For the last 7 days, the over is hitting at about 58%, 51 overs, 37 unders, and we've had a pair of pushes along the way. Favorites on the money line having themselves a nice run, 58.6% over the last 7 days, 51 and 36, but among those 51 favorites, 22 failed to cover the run line, only 29 were able to cover the run line, and overall for the season, favorites now hitting at 55.6%, 492 and 393 on the money line, but 117 of those favorites failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, the over rate back to 51%. 452 overs, 434 unders, and that serves me correct, 24 pushes along the way. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming up next, let's chat it up with one of our good friends, Rob Donaldson of the Rob's Best Bet Show, right here on the Baseball Betting Show. With myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got one of our good friends, Rob Donaldson, aboard. He does such great work over at Underdog Fantasy. Additionally, I know that he's doing a great job taking a look at college basketball throughout the season. Does a great job day in and day out on the baseball front. For all of his bets in video form, you're able to go to youtube.com/Rob Donaldson for the Rob's Best Bet Show. He does amazing work there, and you're able to follow him on the old Twitter /X at RobDFB altogether. And Rob, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Greg. It's always a great time talking ball with you. And it's been a very, very storyline-driven season. A lot of youth is getting called up to Major League Baseball right now. And ultimately, I think Major League Baseball is in probably one of the best spots it's ever been in the past 2 decades, which just means that, hey, lockout, here we come, probably.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting, and I sure hope not, because that means that 2027 is going to be really, really boring. But hey, we've got 2026, and we're not going to be having a lockout this season. And just what are you taking a look at right now in baseball? Because we're about 9-10 weeks through the season. It's been a little bit up and down for some of these teams, and it just feels like it's a cycle of life with regards to these totals, as we have been on a nice over binge over the last few days.
And honestly, I think it's kind of a mixture of a few different things. One, I don't think that there's the star caliber level of pitching that the sport has kind of, had in past years. I think more so than anything, what's really exciting about this year is it's a lot of youthfulness. I mean, nobody expected anything, jack squat from the Cardinals, and that's one of the better offenses in baseball, like truly. And when you also kind of look down top to bottom, nobody thought the White Sox would be 4 games over 500, 60 games into the season. And a lot of that is kind of predicated on the fact that they can score runs. They're 3rd in the AL in terms of runs scored. And the Nationals with young players, the Pirates with young players, it kind of feels like every single team that's kind of overperforming is doing it in the form of youth in their lineup. And I think because of the success of this season and the amount of youth that's really making an immediate impact, we're going to start seeing this from every single team the rest of the way and kind of moving forward as in terms of just kind of baseball long term, in my opinion.
Yep, I'm right there with you. It's been a lot of fun to be taking a look at. And are there a few teams in particular that really catch your eye? Because for me, it really was the Chicago White Sox over the last few weeks. Have a little bit of question mark with Montaka Murakami currently on the injury list, so this will be a big time test for them. But they're certainly one of those teams, and a team that's near and dear to your heart. The St. Louis Cardinals has been one of them. And for lack of a extent, another one out there in the NL Central, the Brewers just continuing to find a way to be able to play small ball with their young lineup has really captured my attention as well.
Yeah, and honestly, even to kind of, flip the script on it a little bit, some of the teams that were kind of the quote unquote, real legitimate contenders coming into the season,
Tigers.
The Mets, the Padres, the Phillies, the Tigers, the Red Sox, even the Rangers and Blue Jays are put into that category. And when you look at kind of the common denominator with a lot of those teams, it's a lot of teams that went big into the free agent market, which, I'm not recommending teams don't do that. I think you should be investing in your team. That's probably what's going to be pertaining in this lockouts potential scenario as well, is those free agent signees. But ultimately, I think when you look at the Padres and their long-term kind of, vision, and that's probably one of the better teams that I mentioned right there, they're slow. They're old. Yeah, they're going to get healthier as the season goes on the pitching side of things, and they're going to be one of those teams that I think wins a lot of low-scoring ball games. But it's really a youth movement in baseball, Greg. I think you look top to bottom, and even your Brewers are a perfect example with a guy like a Jackson Chourio up there just kind of raking and bringing energy to the lineup every single day. And I think the teams that have that youthfulness, whether it's in the form of young stars or true rookies or even prospects that are just initially getting the call. I think the White Sox, introducing Jacob Gonzalez to the lineup and throwing him at first base, because at second base, they have, Chase Mydroth, who's a young star, and they have Colson Montgomery at shortstop, who's a young star. There's nowhere to put a really talented player who's raking. He has 18 home runs in the minors. That's Jacob Gonzalez. And so I think the youth movement for these teams is ultimately showing to be like, hey, these players are developing faster than ever. And whether that's because pitching and the art of pitching is kind of down comparatively to past decades, who knows? But I think that's the way that you got to go. And so those are the teams that I'm gravitating towards right now.
Yep, it certainly has been a lot of fun to take a look there, and I'm so glad that you were mentioning the Chicago White Sox there, as they've got an interesting one against the Minnesota Twins coming up on Wednesday, because we talk about the youth movement, and the White Sox starting pitcher is not a part of that on Wednesday. That would be old Eric Fetty Wap going up against Taj Bradley, and right now the Twins are minus 155 favorites, total of 8.5. How do you take a look at a spot like this? Because I am right there with you with the White Sox. Been a lot of fun with this offense. I just still look at the numbers of Eric Fetty, and he's a very hard guy to back.
Yeah, I'm basically going to be talking out of two sides of my mouth here, because at the same time that I'm crediting the White Sox, and I do think it's sustainable long term, this is probably the guy that long term doesn't find himself in the White Sox rotation after some call-ups. And so, yeah, no, Eric Fetty right now, when you look under the hood, when you look at the surface numbers, and under the hood, I just mean looking at the hard hit percentages and pretty much like this ERA that he's posting right now, it's probably an indicator of like, he's actually dodging bullets, and it's 5-4. Like, that's all you really got to say. This is a guy that eventually is going to kind of dwindle out of this rotation. And Taj Bradley on the other side, he's been a revelation. He's had some couple rough outings here and there, but for the most part, he's been rock solid, keeping the ball on the ground. And I do tend to think even against a really competitive White Sox lineup, that's going to be a really strong edge for the Twins. And so through the first 5 frames, I do tend to gravitate towards laying that run line with the Twins here.
Yeah, and Taj Bradley, he's been a guy that has really been a nice find as well. Had a rough year last year, but I recall when he was coming up with the Tampa Bay Rays, showed some upside, and he has been able to cash in on that this season, as we always cash in with Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with Rob's Best Bets. He's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and then this team has been fun. The Washington Nationals lead the league in terms of run creation, but now they face another pitcher that I really like, and Max Meyer for the Marlins. This is essentially a pick'em game, total of 8. How do you take a look at this one? Because I just have so much fear with Andrew Alvarez, him not going past 5 innings this far this season, that could be what dooms the Nationals here.
The Nationals are one of those teams that right now, it doesn't even matter who they trot out there. They don't really have a lot of competent pitching. It is truly kind of how it is. And so ultimately what's been driving this team, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, I guess, on this episode, Greg, but you look at James Wood, you look at Curtis Mead, you look at CJ Abrams, Dylan Cruz is having everybody labeled Dylan Cruz a bust after one kind of half bad season. And yeah, he got hurt recently, but he was raking prior to that. Jacob Young, a young 26-year-old. Dalen Lyle, 23 years old. I mean, you go down the list of the Nationals and all of those trades, shipping out all of their star players and all their old vets. It's now coming to roost, not on the pitching front, but in the lineup at the very least. And so when you do look at this matchup for Max Meyer, again, another youthful guy who a lot of people labeled a bust initially, I do tend to think he's up against it. And he's been fantastic. His underlying numbers are great. I think he's going to be great the rest of the way. This was ultimately kind of one of the spots where I think both lineups could tee off just inherently. And so I'm looking at the full game just to get the Marlins and Nationals bullpens involved in terms of that over. And I think that's going to be one of my safer plays here on Wednesday there.
Yep, I'm feeling it as well. And man, the Nationals overs this year have been absolutely tremendous. Speaking of absolutely tremendous, Shohei Ohtani on the bump. Now, I don't think that he's going to maintain a sub-1 ERA, but I do think that he can certainly keep things rolling in terms of being an incredible pitcher this year. Don't know if I'm willing to lay minus $190 and minus $2 on the Dodgers. That's what we're finding right now. Total of 9. Want to get your thoughts here because with Zach Gallen, he has been the king of home and road splits for a very long time, and boy, oh boy, is he back at it again this year.
Yeah, our good old boy Zach, right? He just doing exactly what he always has done. He's a very reliably consistent, all over the place pitcher. I mean, that's just who he is. And so I do think what's interesting about the Shohei dynamic is when he's not in the lineup on pitching days, and he's kind of had this weird thing of sometimes he's in the lineup when he's pitching, other times he's not. I don't know if they have kind of a set, plan in motion. This might just be a wait and see thing because the reality is when he's pitching and he's not in that lineup, the Dodgers have tended to really, really miss his bat. Shocker. They're missing a star bat, and all of a sudden the lineup doesn't perform like you think the Dodgers should perform, yet they're carrying that Dodgers price of having that potential offensive output blowout. And yes, they still have a ton of stars, but when Shohei starts games, when he's not in the lineup, their record is 500. And so if you're asking me to kind of lay the minus 200 or lay these crazy run line prices with that being the dynamic at play when Shohei takes the bump, and obviously Shohei is a big name that a lot of people are going to put in their parlays and gravitate towards in terms of just, a dominant game for the Dodgers. Well, that inherently makes me want to take the other side. And so I am willing to take a shot here with the D-backs and Zach Gallen. Don't love it. He could get shelled. That could absolutely happen. But I do think that the D-backs, when it comes to the bullpen of the Dodgers later on, might be able to do some damage. And we might be looking at a game that ends 4-3 or 5-4 rather than a game where the Dodgers hang 7 or 8. And ultimately, I think given the price tag, that's a spot that I'm willing to pick.
Yep, and with Shohei Ohtani, you mentioned it so well. He's been so dominant, but he's almost been like the Jacob deGrom of the Dodgers, where they don't really give him a lot of run support as well. So that's been interesting, and that's a big reason why I sided with the under in this game, as well as we got our good friend Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And then this one I think is interesting. Rangers against the Cardinals. I've been noting this on the podcast all year. Rangers offense, I'm not going to say it's great away from home, but it's been presentable away from home. At home, they just can't hit to save their lives. Arlington is suppressing offense. Now we've got Mackenzie Gore right around minus 105, minus 110 against the Cardinals, and Andre 3000 Palante. Want to get your thoughts here because for Gore, I feel like he's pitched better than his ERA. That said, you just never know where the command is going to be with him either.
Andre 3000 Palante is hilarious.
Every Andre on this podcast is called Andre 3000. That is a rule.
That's amazing. All right. What about Andres Galarraga? Does he get that branding, or is that?
Yes, Andres 3000 Galarraga, even though he fell a little bit short of 3,000 hits.
Right on. Well, heck yeah, I know. And honestly, this obviously is a game that plays close to home because of the 2011 World Series dynamic, right? David Freese hitting that home run to center field. That's one of my favorite moments of my lifetime as a Cardinals fan. And so seeing these two brands up against each other, it brings back those sentimental feelings. Now, when you're talking about Mackenzie Gore on the bump, this is a guy that, again, you want to talk about all over the place, but the highs being really high. That's Mackenzie Gore, because the hard hit percentages are there. Like, he's given up a lot of hard contact, but he has such good strikeout stuff. He has really that kind of veteran savvy at this point, which is crazy to say about Mackenzie Gore, that he can kind of pitch around the attacking the zone, getting laced up every once in a while scenarios. And so when you are looking at a lineup like the Cardinals right now, where that feature Jordan Walker, Ivan Herrera, a lot of guys that I think are hitting the ball well against this type of pitcher rather, and JJ Weatherholt's another great example. He's going to be up against it. And the Rangers offense, that's another crazy all up in the air scenario. And so Mackenzie Gore could be very, very polarizing. He could go out there and shove for 6 innings, or he could give up 5 earned through 4 innings of pitching. And side by side with the Rangers offense, that's an offense that could go out there and score 7 runs or score 0 runs through the entire game. And so I look at this game as like the ultimate wild card. I don't love either side here ultimately, but I think when you're looking at kind of which one to take, you're probably kind of targeting maybe like team total overs or just general overs, because one of these offenses and one of these pitchers potentially just could implode on their own.
Yep, absolutely. And it's going to be very fascinating to look at that, because of what I've always said about Mr. Palante is that he just tries to not give up home runs. Doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, gives up quite a few walks. He just tries to not give up home runs, and he hopes and prays to be able to get some soft contact. So always interesting there. And Rob, we do have an interesting card on this Wednesday. All 30 teams are in action. We fortunately have some day games unlike the last few days. Anything else that's really catching your attention?
Yeah, I think one of the exciting teams in baseball this year is the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's just crazy to kind of say that, but in large part, it's when it's not the lineup, it's the guy in the bump tomorrow and Paul Skeens, obviously. And on the other side, nobody, and I mean nobody, is seemingly talking about Spencer Arrighetti over there with the flow for Houston. Yeah, and the Astros are an uneventful team. I get they're probably going to be sellers at the deadline. They just do not have the pitching this year. But Spencer Arrighetti is the pitcher that they have, and he's been phenomenal. You look at his hard hit percentages, they're down to the basement. He's not giving up any. He's striking out guys. He's going deep in games. This is one of the bigger revelations of the young season so far, and it's legit. Like, this guy is going to be a legitimate front end of the rotation starter, is kind of the vibe that he's given off. And so from that standpoint, tomorrow, with going up against Paul Skeens, this is his moment in the spotlight, going up against a guy who always draws the spotlight. I tend to think if you're looking at the first 5 frames, hammer that under. I don't think an under can be low enough. And so I think we're going to see a pitching duel really early on, despite the offenses having some guys both that can really hit the ball. I think we're going to see 2 gamers going at it, and I'm just really excited to watch that game in general there.
Yep, I am very excited as well. And for Paul Skeens, I do think that he's going to be able to get up off the mat after it's been a little bit shaky for him over the last few starts. We've got ourselves a lot of fun on this Baseball Wednesday, Rob, and you're doing such a great job looking at this sport and so much more. So love to get people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Well, hey, Greg, it's always a blast talking ball with you, my man. I love looking forward to these every single week. And, for those who are wanting to follow my bets on a nightly basis, daily basis, whatever it may be, Twitter/X at RobDFB, and also on my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Rob Donaldson. But as always, Greg, I appreciate having me on, man.
Yep, and with Rob, he is doing such a great job day in and day out in this great sport. He's keeping up with college basketball. He's getting set for football and so much more every single time he joins me, lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So big thanks to Rob for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we catch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Rob for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_D1. We are going to be going in the Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. How about if we get things started? This is 9:51, 9:52 on the card. The Miami Marlins on the road against the Washington Nationals. Andrew Alvarez is on the bump for the Nats, and Max Meyer goes for Miami. Miami between minus 104 to minus 110. Minus 110 to minus 112 is that number on Washington. So relative pick'em total is 8, over is minus 115, under is minus 105. Seeing a few 8.5s out there. The under is minus 120 and the over is even. And I'm going to ride with the over. I saw my total at 8.7. I have a Nationals team that is numero uno in all baseball in terms of run creation with 5.4 runs per game. Just not a lot of faith here in Andrew Alvarez because he's made 5 appearances thus far this season. He has went 4 1/3 innings or fewer in every one of them, and backed up by a bullpen that is in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. Now, you've had Richard Dickey Lovelady, who was the opener yesterday, be a little bit better for the team. He and Orlando Rebalta have been able to give you a sub-3 35 ERA, but when you are throwing out there some of these guys like a Gus Varland, Paxton Schultz, who have a 5+ ERA, they had to abort ship pretty much on Ciano Perez. It's been trial and error with the bullpen, and for the Miami Marlins, it's been a little bit up and down for them, but I don't think you're going to need a ton of the bullpen. Max Meyer has been tremendous, 297 ERA, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up 0.7 home runs per 9. That's a big reason why I did set the Marlins here at a minus 133. I'm going to be willing to lay the money line. Now for the Marlins, not necessarily a team that's pumping out the deep ball. They're a bottom 6 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. You've had Liam Hicks, who had an incredible job. He's been able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs, but other than that, really nobody else gives you over 6 or 7 home runs this season. And just a few guys are struggling. The likes of a Jacob Marcy, of Kyle Stelwerson's coming off the injury list, Joe Mack. These are guys you get 220 or lower, and you just expect a little bit more of guys like Owen Casey, Oberto Hernandez, but Otto Lopez has been able to above a 300 long Xavier Edwards, and for the Washington Nationals, CJ Abrams, 385 plus on base. He's been able to give you 12 plus home runs. James Wood has given you good wood, over a 400 on base. He's been able to fly 16 home runs, and now you do have someone like Curtis Meade, 360 on base. He's been able to give you 8 home runs. Down Lyle, Jobert, Vivas, these are guys that are moving the line. For the Marlins, it's been a little bit up and down with a few guys in the bullpen. Calvin Fauché above a 3.50 ERA. Blake Picard, the opener yesterday, has been really solid, but they had to use him up. Michael Peterson has been a little bit up and down, so I do think that you're going to be able to get some runs in this game, and ultimately I just have more faith here in Max Meyer. So I'm willing to take a shot here on the fish on the money line, set them at a minus 133, and do like the over, so my total at 8.7. 9.53, 9.54 on the card. It's the Phillies. They're going to be playing us to the Slam Diego Padres, as Cadiz for Sanchez is on the bump for the Phillies, and Walker Buehler goes for the Padres. Padres, very sizable underdogs between plus 158 to a plus 176, minus 190 to minus 210 is that number on the Phillies. Total is 7.5. The over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Phillies between minus 102 to a minus 110, I'm willing to lay that run line. I'm willing to go up to a minus 112 here for Christopher Sanchez. 0 runs allowed in the entire month of May. 0, zip, nada, just absolutely tremendous. A strikeout to walk ratio of either 14 or 15 in the month. Now, I do think there's a little bit of regression here, but still, 147 ERA, 182 field independent. That puts me on the under here because, yeah, the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen has been a little bit shaky with some of these guys like a Tanner Banks and company, but you're not going to be going to those guys. You'll probably be looking at your main guys like an Orion Kirkering, who's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You've had Yohan Duran give you a sub-3 ERA as well. And Walker Buehler has pitched better than that 4.88 ERA would indicate as well. 364 field independent, 0.7 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings. Phillies were averaging over 5.3 runs per game at home last season. This season, down to about closer to about 4.3 runs per game. Kyle Schwarber's been incredible. He's on pace right now for over 50 home runs, 345 on base. Bryce Harper, he's been able to give you about a 360 on base. He's been able to fly 13 home runs, but I mean, the rest of the infield, Bryson Stott, Trey Turner down for what? Alec Boehm, the catcher spot, all hitting at 235 or lower. You need more there. Adolis Garcia has been rough, and for the Padres, you finally got Fernando Tatis Jr. to give you a home run, and he's hitting like a 272, 275, but just no power there. Manny Machado, he has actually given you 10 home runs this season, but he's hitting below a $185. Miguel Andujar's moving line. He and Gavin Sheets between a 245 to a 260 with that average. And Sheets, he's up to 10 home runs. He's been able to give you about a 340 on base. Xander Bogaerts, after a nice start to the season, has been shaky though. The catcher spot, Jackson Merrill, a lot of guys hitting at 215 or lower. It is a Padres bullpen that they themselves have been tremendous. Jason Adam along with Mason Miller, both of these guys have been able to supply a sub sub 225 ERA. And then Wandy Peralta's been solid in the bullpen. Adri Monajon had a little bit of a rough start to the season, but he's been much better recently as well. So I do think that in this case, you're going to be able to get a lower scoring game, but I just can't fade Christopher Sanchez. I recognize that, again, he's going to have a little bit of a fall off from what we've seen recently, but I am not going to bank on that right now. I said my total 7.4, so I like the under, and for the Phillies, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 112 with that run line. 955, 956 on the card. It's the Giants here, going to be on the road facing off against the Milwaukee Brewers, as we do know that it's going to be Logan Webb who's going to be getting the start for the San Francisco Giants. Currently, the betting board reads to be determined with regards to the Brewers starters, so there's a little bit of mystery here. Now, if you take a look through the grapevine and at Fangraphs, right now they are projecting that the Brewers are going to be throwing Coleman Crowe, and that's who I'm thinking is going to get the start as well. And for the Brewers right now, they are between minus 142 to a minus 160, between plus 120 to a plus 135. That number on San Francisco, total of 8, under minus 115, over is minus 105, seeing some 7.5, over is minus 120, and the under is even money. And with the Brewers, I did set them at a minus 136. So with the Giants, if we can get a plus 137 or better right now without the dime lines, I'm seeing a plus 135. So we should probably get a plus 140 when it's all said and done. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the money line. Now, for Logan Webb, it's been a bad season for him, and he just came off the injury list. I do think that he's doing for a lot of positivity, though. With Logan Webb this season, he's been supplying an ERA that is a 4.82, and throughout his career, he's posted up an ERA more than a full point higher when he's away from home rather than at home. But 354 field independence, 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 8.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. It's not amazing, but still, it's good to be able to get the job done. Flip side, you got a guy in Coleman Crowe who's been pretty solid, 3.14 ERA through his 3 starts. Now, at the big league level, 0.6 home runs, 1.9 walks allowed per 9 innings, but he's only getting 5 strikeouts per 9 innings for one. And you dive in a little bit deeper at the numbers at AAA Nashville. While he does have a nice 4-1 record, 1.3 home runs, 3.6 walks allowed per 9 innings, 49 ERA. Good news is he's backed up by a bullpen that is in the top 8 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. You've been able to get really good production out of these guys like Aaron Ashby, Grant Anderson, DL Turnett, Paulo have all been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. They had to throw Shane Drone a few days ago, so that did wear on the bullpen a little bit. And you've had Emder Uribe, Lon Trevor McGill have a little bit of shakiness this year. Both of these guys over a 350 ERA, but they seem to be rounding into form. And when it comes to this Brewers lineup, they are actually dead last in the big leagues in terms of home runs, out of park at bases, but they just continue to move the line. You've got so many guys like a Bryce Terang who's been able to give you about a 400 on base. Your leader in home runs is actually Jake Bauers, hitting at 275 with 9 home runs entering into yesterday. Christian Yelich's coming out the injury list along Jackson Trio, both hitting at 275. Andrew Vaughn has been able to get on base. Even David Hamilton has given you some production as well. Flip side for the Giants, prior to that 19-run outburst against the Colorado Rockies, dead sinking last in terms of run production. Willie Adames, Rafael Devers, both between 7 and 8 home runs apiece. Their batting averages honestly aren't awful. Like Rafael Devers is updating about a 250 right now, 240 for Willie Adames, but both guys below a 310 with Garcia on base. Casey Schmidt has been your main boom man. He's been able to give you 12 home runs thus far this season, and I mean, the catcher spot has stepped up. Eric Costa has been relatively solid. Daniel Susic has been able to give you some runs as well. Luis Ariz continues at above 3 and Jungle Lee as well. They just got him off the injury list for the Giants. Their bullpen has been in the top 10 in terms of ERA. While Caleb Killian has regressed a little bit, JT Brubaker has been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Keaton Wynn has been a very reliable long guy as well. It's just been a case where the offense has not really been able to get into form. So I did set my Brewers money line at a minus 136. Right now with the Giants, you're finding that about a plus 135. Once the dime line comes out, should be able to get closer to a plus 140. So if we can get a plus 137 or better, going to be looking at the Giants here. And with this total, I set mine at a 7.6, like the under. 957, 958 on the card. It's the Dodgers. They're going to be on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Zach Allen looks a filler up for Arizona, and Shohei Ohtani is on the bump for the Dodgers. And the Dodgers do find themselves as a pretty sizable favorite here, minus 197 to minus $2. If you're looking to lay a run half, that is right around minus 118 to minus 120. The Diamondbacks are between plus 158 to a plus 168, total of 9, over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And for the Diamondbacks, I did set them here at a plus 174. I think that when it's all said and done with the dime lines, I should be able to get a plus 175. So plus 175 or better is going to be that buy point on the Diamondbacks. We talked about it with Rob Donaldson. Shohei Ohtani has been absolutely incredible. He's got a 0.82 ERA, albeit the fielding depended more around a 242, but he's been able to keep the ball in the yard, 0.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings, about 10 strikeouts per 9, and even going back to last year, he's been incredible as the Dodgers starting pitcher. He should be able to bat in this game, but sometimes that becomes a little bit suspect. But Zach Gallen is a completely different pitcher at home rather than away from home, and it does feel like the Dodgers sometimes just have some issues with regards to scoring whenever Shohei Ohtani is on the bump. For Gallen, a paltry 5.16 ERA with 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings as far this season, but you look at those home and road splits. 7.57 ERA away from home, 2.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 3.09 ERA with 0.8 home runs per 9 innings at home. And it's a Diamondbacks team that doesn't quite have the same bullpen as the Dodgers. The Dodgers are currently a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. I know that Tanner Scott had some issues last week, but he's still looking like one of the better relievers in all of baseball right now. Blake Tryon, Alex Vesia, Jack Dreyer, they've been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA, but we have seen this Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen be much better this season with Taylor Clark, Juan Murillo, Jonathan Loaizaga. These have been guys that have been able to give you a sub 3.50 ERA. And when it comes to the Diamondbacks, this is a bunch that's still in the top half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Last year, they were a top 5 team, and they've taken a little bit of a step back this year. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte has been your main man. He's been able to give you 10 home runs, hitting about a 265. Corbin Carroll's down with power. He, Ilyarmo Vargas, and Nolan Arenado all between 7 and 8 home runs, but all 3 of these guys hitting at least a 270. In the case of Carroll, he's been able to give you about a 380 on base, and Arenado's up to about a 350 on base as well. Geraldo Perdomo has been having his issues, and he's been a little bit banged up throughout the season. Gabriel Moreno as well, but Moreno back up to hitting about a 260 or so. And for the LA Dodgers, you just haven't been able to get a lot out of Kyle Tucker. This has been a signing that has not really worked out for them too much. I think that he's going to be able to get better moving forward. And of a pair of guys, Andy Paz along with Max Muncy, who have both been able to give you 13 plus home runs this season. Muncy about a 350 on base, 340 for Paz. And for Freddie Freeman, he's been better recently. He and Will Smith got off to a little bit of a shaky start to the season. Now both guys have been able to give you a little bit more power. Both guys hitting above a 250. Teoscar Hernandez about a 350 on base as well, but I do think that for the Diamondbacks, they're able to get a good start here out of Zach Gallen, and it just feels like there's a little bit of Jacob deGrom syndrome whenever Shohei Ohtani takes a bump. So plus 175 or better, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the 6 on the money line. I set a total here of an 8.2, so on the 9, I do like the under. 959, 960 on the card. It's the Detroit Tigers. They're going to be on the road facing off against the Tampa Bay Rays. Nick Martinez is on the bump for the Rays, and Troy Melton is on the bump for Detroit. And Detroit does find themselves as a pretty good size underdog here, as they're between plus 120 to plus 130. Meanwhile, minus 142 to a minus 156. That's your number on Tampa Bay. 8 is the total. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. And this is a game where I'm going to be taking a shot on the under. I did set my total here at a 7.7. Where Troy Melton, he's actually really impressed me this far this season. I don't know what sort of support he's going to be able to get out of the bullpen, as Will Vest has been supplying an ERA that is above a 4. You've been dealing with a few injuries with some of these guys. Like, I know that right now Bert Smith is on the injury list, so I do like Brendan Hennefy. He's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA this far this season. But for Mr. Melton, 142 ERA this season, has yet to give up a home run, albeit small sample size, 12 and 2/3 innings. But even go back to last year, he had a 276 ERA, albeit he was giving up 1.4 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings. But overall, at the big league level, he's been a pretty presentable pitcher. Now, for Nick Martinez, I do think that he's going to be doing for regression. I just don't know if it's going to be coming in this game. As for Nick Martinez, he's right now supplying an ERA that is below a 2. As a matter of fact, it is a 162, despite the fact that he's only getting 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Doing a great job not hurting himself. 0.5 home runs, 1.6 walks per 9 innings, but just allow that much contact, and it's going to nip you in the bud. And for the Tigers, they are starting to get some of their pieces back. Being able to get Gary Carpenter back in the lineup over the last few days has been great. They're still missing Javi Baez and a few others. So you got these guys at the bottom of the lineup like Zach McKinstry, along with Matt Vierling, Zach Short, Wencio Perez, Jahmai Jones, Ayo Lee. These guys in a 225 or Lawrence Spencer Torkelson just has not been good this season. Single-digit amount of homers. He's given you only about a 220 average, but Dylan Dingler has been able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs. Gleyber Torres, along with Riley Green, these guys have been able to give you north of a 390 on base. So you've been able to get these guys back to be able to move lines. So I do think that the Tigers could improve on that bottom 5 lineup in terms of just run creation. But again, I do think that Martinez is still going to do a nice job not hurting himself. And then flip side for the Rays, this is a lineup that does average a little bit less at home rather than away from home because the Trops have pressed his offense. Junior Caminero on pace for about 40 home runs. He's been able to give you a 380 on base. Jonathan Aranda and Yandy Diaz, both above a 375 on base. Both of these guys, 8+ home runs this season. Richie Palacios moves the line, hitting at 260. Hunter Fiducia at the catcher spot. He's been able to do a nice job as well. For the Rays, they're more of a league average team with regards to their bullpen right now. I've had Brian Baker, Cole Sulzer, the former Orioles, be able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Garrett Clevenger was shaky to begin the season. Since coming off the injury list, he's looked much better. Casey Lugumina has given you good innings along Kevin Kelly. So it is a very interesting spot because for the Rays, while I do think that Nick Martinez is doing for for regression. I do think that he's still going to be able to give you a good start here, so I do like the under. Semi-total is 7.7. Semi-money line price at a minus 148. So right now I'm seeing a minus 142 out there. Going to be willing to take a shot on the race on the money line. 961, 962 on the card. The White Sox are on the road against the Minnesota Twins as Taj Johnco and Milton Bradley on the bump for the Twins, and Eric Fetty goes for the White Sox. White Sox are an underdog between plus 125 to a plus 135. Meanwhile, minus 150 to minus 155. That number on Minnesota, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105, and I do like the under. I semi-tell it at 8.3. I do think that the White Sox are going to be impacted by the fact that Mataka Murakami and his 20 home runs currently out of the lineup. Now, you still do have a pair of guys in Miguel Vargas along with Colson Montgomery, who will be able to give you 13 plus home runs this season, but both of these guys are hitting in the neighborhood of about a 235-ish, give or take a little bit, and you have been able to have a few other guys be able to move line for this team. Sam Antonassi has been able to give you some good at-bats. He's giving you over a 350 on base. I like what Chase Meadroth has been able to give you as well. He's hitting for about a 270 as well, but Andrew Benintendi has really struggled. He, Derek Hall are both hitting below a 240 with not a lot of pop. Edgar Kiro at the catcher spot has been awful, along with Luanel Acuna at the shortstop spot, and for the Twins, you got Byron Buxton supplying 16 plus home runs. He's been able to hit above a 255. Bruce Lee is hitting at 260 along Trevor Larnach, and Larnach throws in there a 370 on base. I know that he's regressed a little bit, but Alec Martin has done a good job in terms of moving the line as well, and for both of these teams, the bullpen is a big giant issue. Both of these teams are in the bottom 7. In terms of bullpen ERA, we have seen Cody Funderburk for the Twins really start to act up. He and Travis Adams are both posting up an ERA well above a 350, and for Travis Adams, I believe his ERA is skyrocketed all the way up to an 8. Eric Orze, Yandres Gomez, they're both giving you a sub-4 ERA, and that's about the best thing that I could say about this bullpen is Anthony Banda and company have been absolutely awful. And flip side for the White Sox, you're starting to get a few guys that have been relatively okay here. Brian Hudson, John Newcomb, Grant Taylor, they're giving you a sub-350 ERA, but Jordan Leisure, 5+ ERA. Trevor Richards as well. Serenity Dominguez has not been reliable at the closer spot as well. And for Eric Fetty, honestly, he is lucky that he has not given up more runs than he has thus far this season. For Mr. Fetty Wap, 5.40 ERA, 6.38 fielding independent, 2.2 home runs, 3.9 walks per 9 innings. Meanwhile, for Taj Bradley, he really hasn't been playing games. I recognize that he's had a few up and down starts ever since coming off the injured list. He gave up the 4th spot against the Pirates in his last start, but still, 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only giving up 1 home run per 9, 3.21 ERA, 3.39 fielding dependent. That puts me on the Minnesota Twins in this spot, and that puts me on the under. Semi-total at 8.3. And for the Twins, I set their money line price at a minus 151. Right now, we're seeing this right around about a minus 150 or so. That's the maximum willing to lay. I don't want the run line, but we'll take the money line to go along with the under. 963, 964 on the card. The Baltimore Orioles are on the road against Boston Red Sox. Peyton Dooley is on the bump for Boston. Chris Bassett has the hook line and sinker for Baltimore. Total on this game is 9. The under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. For the Red Sox, minus 142 to minus 156 is that number. Plus 120 to a plus 130. That is your number on the Red Sox, and I do like the under. I just did set my total at an 8.3. Peyton Dooley sure as heck is looking like the real deal. He has been incredible this year with getting just under 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's been able to keep the ball in the yard, give up 0.7 home runs per 9 innings as well, and I think that he's going to be able to keep things rolling with the way that he's been able to get about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. 261 ERA, 267 fielding dependent, and for Chris Bassett, he's been better here recently. 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in 4 out of his last 6 appearances. There have been a few times that they've had an opener come in for him, and while he does have an ERA of a 5.06, a lower 4.53 fielding dependent. The command was wonky towards the beginning part of the season. He's ironed that out. 3.5 walks per 9 innings. Swing and miss stuff is way down. 6.1 strikeouts per 9, but benefits from facing off against a Red Sox lineup that is averaging 3.2 runs per game at Fenway. That is dead last in terms of home run creation. And for the Red Sox, Jaron Duran did have 9 home runs in the month of May, so he's been able to round into form a little bit. And you've got guys that are moving the line for the team. Like, you've got Masataka Yoshida, Ceddanne Rafaela, Wilder Abreu. I'll give you between about a 335 to a 345 on base, and then Wilson Contreras, 380 on base. He's been able to supply 11 home runs, but the team is in the bottom 3 in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Isaiah Canera-Falefa in a small sample size, along with Mickey Gasper, Evan Sala, but Caleb Durbin has been just a big, giant waste of money for the team. Marcelo Meyer and company, and then for the Orioles, not quite what you expected out of Taylor Ward, only 2 home runs this far this season, but I mean, after he didn't really hit for a lot of average over with the Angels last season, 393 on base. Adley Rutschman, he's not like super this season, but he's giving you a 340 on base, along Samuel Basayo. Basayo has been able to give you 8 home runs. Pete Alonso is starting to iron things out. 12 bombs, he's hitting about a 240 right now. You could use a little bit more there, and then really these guys like a Colton Cowser, Kobe Mayo, Tyler O'Neill, they're the guys that need to pick it up a little bit, but Blaze Alexander has been able to about about a 275. Now for the Orioles, it's a team with a significantly worse bullpen right now. Andrew Kittredge, Keegan Aikens, that's coming off the injury list. Both of these guys have been pretty dreadful with over a 6 ERA. Uncle Rico Garcia, Yennier Cano, they've been solid, but they're clearly missing Ryan Helsley at the closer spot. Flip side for the Red Sox, this continues to be a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Even someone like a Tyler Seven-Ijo, who he was able to come in there for 2 shutout innings yesterday, so he's not going to be available here. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Greg Weiser, it seems to be ironing things out. They do have Garrett Woodlock on the injured list, but Giovanni Morin, Justin Slayton, these have been guys who have been pretty rock solid, give you a sub-365 ERA. Then you still have Aroldis Chapman at the closer's role. I do think that Tully is able to go out there, get the job done here, and what I think is going to be yet another low-scoring Red Sox game. I set the Red Sox at a minus 162, so backing them on the money line, I like the under. Semi-total at 8.3, 965, 966 on the card. The Guardians are on the road against the Yankees as Garrett Cole is on the bum for the Yankees, and Mr. Gavin Williams goes for the Cleveland Guardians. Guardians do find themselves as a pretty sizable underdog here. You're going to be getting them between plus 140 to a plus 155. Meanwhile, for the Yankees, more in the neighborhood about minus 155 to minus 165 is that number on them. If you're looking to lay run half with the Yankees, that's more around about plus 130. Saw as good as a plus 140 out there as well. And for the Yankees, I am going to be willing to lay that run line. I was pretty much willing to take even money or better with regards to that run line. Now, for Gavin Williams, he's been great. 3.07 ERA. He's getting about 10.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. After having some early season walks issues, he's been able to iron those out as well. He's been giving up fewer than 3.5 walks per 9 innings now, but you do have to go up against the Yankees lineup that is averaging 5.7 runs per game at home. That is number 1 in all of baseball. And for the Yankees, obviously, Aaron Judge, Ben Rice, they've been your main 2 guys. They're giving you 15 plus home runs. Both of these guys give you over a 360 on base, but Cody Bellinger, 8 plus home runs. He's done a good job in terms of giving you over a 370 on base. You've been able to get a little bit more out of the infield. Anthony Volpe, I know that's still a little bit up and down with him, but he's been a little bit better this season. Jazz Chisholm, it's not saying much, but he's better than he was towards the beginning part of the season. Ahmed Rosario, he's been able to find a way to move the line as well. And for the Guardians, since the beginning of the month of May, they're averaging over 4.5 runs per game. Travis Bazzana has been able to give you 380 on base. You really haven't had your, shall we say, star guys be able to pick it up quite yet. Jose Ramirez, a 3-8 game yesterday, he's giving you 346 on base with 8 home runs. You expect a little bit more there. Kyle Manzardo has given you 6 home runs, only about a 315 on base, and Steven Kwan has just been a nightmare for this team, but Brian Rocchio, 375 on base. Heck, Austin Hedges, a catcher that can hit. He's been able to hit a little bit this season, but for the Guardians, we have seen a downfall with this bullpen. They're more around league average with regards to ERA, and Eric Zabrowski is on the injury list. Now, Cade Smith had something like 13 saves in the month of May. He's really rounded into form after a shaky start to the season. You get John Armstrong off the injury list, but Hunter Gaddis has not been himself this season. He's been posting up an ERA above a 4 along with Matt Festa, and then on the flip side, for the New York Yankees, you've been able to get some good production out of the guys that aren't your main 2, like David Bednar, along with Camilo Doval, 4+ ERA out of both of those guys. Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz, Brent Hedrick, these have been guys that have been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Paul Blackburn, as a long guy, has been solid, and Garrett Cole, I recognize that the swing and miss stuff wasn't amazing in his first start, but 2 starts back, 12 2/3 innings shutout, and he was able to get, I believe it was 10 strikeouts in his last start, so I think that he's back in full form, and I do think that he's going to do a nice job in terms of shutting it down against this Cleveland Guardians team. Right now, we are finding that total in this game right in the neighborhood of about a 7.5 with the under at a minus 120 and the over at it even. I do think that you get just enough run creation from the Guardians to go over, so I'm going to be in on the over, so my total is 7.7, and with the Yankees pretty much even money or better, was willing to take a shot on that run line. 967, 968 on the card. It's the Mets. They're going to be on the road against the Mariners. George Kirby is on the bum for the Mariners, and Freddie Peralta goes for the Metropolitans, and the Mets do find themselves shock, surprise, surprise. It's an underdog here, as you're going to be getting them between plus 116 to a plus 130. Meanwhile, between minus 140 to a minus 136 is that number on the Mariners, seeing as bad as a minus 145 out there as well. 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 125. Over is plus 105. Seeing a few straight 7s. That 7 over juice is minus 125. The under is plus 105. Semi-total at is 7.3. Personally, I would rather take a shot on a 7 over rather than a 7 after the under. We'll see how this progresses in the AM, mainly because with George Kirby, he just hasn't been able to get a lot of swing and miss, and he has been pitching to a lot of contact. Additionally, for Seattle, it always suppresses offense, but a little bit less so here in the summer months rather than towards the beginning part of the season. And for Kirby, 377 ERA, 349 fielding dependent, 0.9 home runs, 2.1 walks per 9 innings, but just 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's given up 3+ earned runs in each out of his last 3 starts. Meanwhile, for Freddie Peralta, 355 ERA, and the 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings is on pace to be a career low. He's given up 3.8 walks per 9 innings, and for the Seattle Mariners, took them a little bit of time to be able to figure out their offense without Kyle Raleigh, and they're still really not getting anything at the catcher spot, but they've had a lot of guys rounded in form. Julio Rodriguez has been able to give you 9+ home runs. He's hitting above a 250 255. Luke Raley, double-figure amount of bombs. He's hitting at 275. Randy Arozarena not really going yard, but he and Colt Emerson have been able to give you over a 345 on base. Tom Canzone's moving the line along with Colton Young as well. So got a lot of guys that are stepping up. And for the Mets, Juan Soto has been able to give this team a lot of life. Like with Juan Soto, he's been fine. 385 on base, double-figure amount of homers. Bo Bichette, Marcus Semien, these are just bad signings. They're just not giving you anything whatsoever. Carson Benjay, though, up to about a 250. He went deep yesterday, and you've had Jacob Young be able to ride about a 370 on base. He's pretty much the only guy other than Juan Soto in the lineup yesterday that's giving you over 325 on base. But do you think that rounds into form a little bit more for both of these teams? They've got rock-solid bullpens. You had Oscar Brisbane, the opener from yesterday, Brooks Raley, Austin Warren, be able to give you a sub-325 ERA for this Mets bullpen, and getting back A.J. Minter should be able to help out. Luke Weaver's looked better, and Devin Williams is just a lost cause at this point. And Andres Munoz has been a little bit rough for the Seattle Mariners, but outside of Munoz, it's been really good, and Munoz has been much better recently. You've got the likes of Gabe Spire, Cooper Criswell, Edward Bizardo, Matt Brash, Jose Ferrer. Pretty much all these guys are giving you a sub-325 ERA, but I do think that Kirby gets it around a little bit. Do think the same for Peralta as well. I did set my money line price here at a minus 142. Right now, we're seeing this right around minus 136, minus 142 on the Mariners in a lot of spots. Going to be willing to take a shot on the money line, and on a 7, I do like the over. 969, 970 on the card. The Royals are going to be on the road against the Reds. Yes, we're out of Cincinnati. Who's on to Chris Paddock, getting the start for them, and Stephen Kolek goes for the Royals. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 110 to a minus 115. Over is minus 105 to a minus 110. Reds are between minus 150 to minus 160 favorites. Plus 130 to plus 140 is that number on the Royals, and I'm going to take a shot here on the Royals. Set them at a plus 117. Chris Paddock is just not a guy that I want to be laying this sort of a number with. Has been a little bit better since coming on over to the Cincinnati Reds, but my goodness. Right now, that ERA is still a paltry 690, 1.4 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings. Was so bad that the Marlins just decided to DFA him, and with Stephen Kolek, he's been pretty solid this far this season. He's done a nice job in terms of not hurting himself. Right now, supplying an ERA of a 3.48, 1.7 walks per 9 innings, about 1.2 home runs per 9, but he does give up a lot of contact. 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. They don't call Great American Small Park for nothing, as you saw the Reds with a bunch of solo home runs yesterday, and for the Reds, it does feel like this offense is starting to supply a whole heck of a lot more, because for much of the season, it's been Ellie De La Cruz along cousin Sal Stewart. Now, De La Cruz is on the injured list. Stewart, he's still out there giving you a double-figure amount of homers, 352 on base, but now he's got help. And Eugenio Suarez comes off the injured list. He had 49 home runs last season. You saw Spencer Steer go deep twice yesterday. He's over a 275 average. He's up to 9 home runs. You've been able to have Blake Dunn move the line, hitting a 270. JJ Bleday give you power with about a 385 on base. Zane Myers is getting on. So, I mean, for the Reds, not having Brian Hayes out there has been addition by subtraction, and Royals continue to be dead last in terms of run creation away from home. They're averaging about 3.1 to 3.2 runs per game away from home. Bobby Witt Jr., though, he's been able to give you 9 home runs, about a 355 on base. The Lane Train, Lane Thomas, along with Tolbert out there in the outfield. These guys have been able to give you about a 345 on base. We need to see a little bit more out of Vinny Pasquantino, along with Salvador Perez. It's been rough for those two guys, both below a 300 on base. Just need a little bit more power there, but I do think that off of Chris Paddock, they are going to be able to get things going. Starling Marte has been able to move the line, and both of these bullpens are just absolutely awful. They're both in the bottom 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. For the Royals, you've got Nick Mears, Carlos Estevez on the injury list. John Schreiber has been relatively solid. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but Matt Strauman's not been what they've been hoping for. Daniel Lynch, Lucas Joe, these are a pair of guys who have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. And for the Reds, it's hard to believe that this team actually led the league in terms of bullpen ERA through the first month of the season. Emilio Pagan, Pierce Johnson, Graham Ashcraft are now on the injury list. Zachary McCambly is now a guy that they're looking to for innings. They do get Caleb Ferguson off the injury list, that should help, but Tony Santillan now above a 5 ERA, TJ Antone as well, Sam Moe, Brock and Roll Burke. These guys have been relatively solid veterans, and you're going to need a lot of bullpen pitching with Paddock out there. Do think they get a higher scoring game, sub by total at a 9.1, so I'm in on this total to the over. And for the Royals, plus 118 or better, give me a shot on them on the money line. 971, 972 on the card. It's the Blue Jays. They're going to be on the road against the Atlanta Braves, as Grant Holmes is on the bump for the Bravos, and Patrick Corbin goes for the Toronto Blue Jays. Total on this game is now in 8. This opened up at an 8.5. Still seeing a few 8.5s with the under at a minus 120, over at even. Right now with the 8, so over is minus 110 to minus 120. Under on 8 is between minus 110 to a minus 120, and the Braves are between minus 138 to minus 150 favorites. Plus 118 to plus 130. That number on Toronto, and maybe I'm just a hater, but I just still don't believe in Patrick Corbin. I set my money line price at a minus 167. I'm going to be willing to back the Braves here. For Patrick Corbin, he's been a whole heck of a lot better than he has over the last few seasons, and even last year with the Rangers, things were able to get back online a little bit, but still 3.65 ERA while giving up a lot of contact, 6.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. To his credit, only about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, but now you go up against an Atlanta Braves team that is in the top 5 in the big leagues in terms of run creation. Not having Drake Baldwin out there hurts them quite a bit, but have a guy, Matt Olson, that's on pace for 40-plus home runs this season. Ronald Acuna Jr., very much rounding back into form. 5 home runs over the last 8 games out of him. You've been able to have Michael Harris continue to above a 300. You've had Dom Smith continue to above a 300. He's been able to give you 9-plus home runs. Ozzie Albies is sitting at 280. Even though you've got Baldwin out of the fold, this has still been a team that's been really good with their offense. But Mike Yastrzemski's now hitting above a 250 as well. And then for the Blue Jays, this team really doesn't strike out. They're a top 4 team in terms of field strikeouts on a per-at-bat basis, and got plenty of guys moving the line. Hendrik Pinago, Ernie Clement, Nathan Lukes, Vlad Guerrero, all hitting above a 295. Just not much power out of Kazuma Okamoto, who's been able to give you 13 home runs. I believe nobody else on the roster has more than 6, and Guerrero, 3 home runs. He's on base for 10 home runs this far this season. AC Sanchez continues to move the line as well. I do think that there's a little bit of positivity to him for this Blue Jays lineup, and the top-end guys for the Blue Jays bullpen have been great. Louis Varland has been giving you a sub-1 ERA. Braden Fisher, Tyler Rogers, sub-3 ERA, but Mason Flority's had his issues. Jeff Hoffman has as well. And then on the other end, you've got a Braves team that has been in the top 6 in terms of bullpen ERA as well. When you've got Racy Iglesias and Robert Suarez rolling, that's big. Tyler Kinley has acted up a little bit this season, but Dylan Lee has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. The Dodd-father, Dylan Dodd, has been solid. Reynaldo Lopez gives you some good long relief. And for Grant Holmes, I do think that he's going to give up a few runs as well. He's been lucky that his ERA has not been higher than what it is right now. He's supplying a 3.95 ERA, feeling dependent more around a 5.05. He's getting about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1.7 home runs, 3.9 walks per 9 innings. Do think that the Braves slug their way to victory, though. Like the over, some I tell it at 8.6 for the Braves, willing to go up to a minus 166 on the money line. 973, 974 on the card. The Rangers are on the road against Cardinals. Andre 3000 Palante is on the bump for the Cardinals, and Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored for Texas. Texas anywhere between even money to minus 110. Meanwhile, between a minus 110 to a minus 120 is that number on St. Louis. The total on this game, it is 8 to 8.5 on the 8. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105 on the 8.5. Under is minus 125, and the over is plus 105. And for the Texas Rangers, made them the slimmest of slim favorites here at a minus 102. So I'm going to be willing to roll the dice and take them on the money line. I do think that this is a very tight game. I was pretty much willing to take whoever was going to be plus money here. And for Mackenzie Gore, certainly it's been a case where he has had some very demonstrative home and road splits that you do want to be taking a look at. And for Mackenzie Gore, he always does a good job in terms of being able to get strikeouts. He's back over 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but still, it has been a case where he's been giving up over 3.5 walks per 9 innings. It does feel like he's been able to find his sea legs a little bit more. His last start out, he was very good, going 6 1/3 innings scoreless against the Royals. And for that matter, he's given up a combined 4 earned runs over the course of his last 4 starts, 3.96 ERA, 3.65 fielding dependent, about 4 walks per 9 innings. That is a little bit of an issue, and getting to those home and road splits. Arlington has been really suppressing offense as far this season, so makes sense that he's got an ERA at home that is significantly better than away from home. Right now at home, he's supplying a 2.08 ERA. At home, he's given up less than a home run per 9 innings. Away from home, same there, but still 5.81 ERA, so that's been a little bit curious. And then for our good friend, Mr. Andre 3000 Palante, I mentioned it with Rob Donaldson, the fact that he's just hoping and praying to not give up home runs. 4.19 ERA, 4.53 fielding dependent, 7.1 strikeouts, 3.3 walks per 9 innings, 1.2 home runs per 9 innings is actually tied for a career high for him, and he's backed up by a bullpen that continues to be in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. Now, they've been much better recently. They sent Matt Savanson down to the minor league level, and the guys that they trotted out there yesterday, Gordon Gaseffo, George Soriano, Jojo Romero, all sub-3 ERA, all through 14 pitches or less, so they should be good to go. Flip side for the Texas Rangers, the Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, they've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Cal Quantrill's been really good in a long roll. He was used yesterday for 1 pitch. He's going to be good to go here. And for the Rangers, they are dealing with a few injuries in the bullpen, but Chris Martin and Cole Winter are on the injury list. They were pretty much a weak link. So you've got Tyler Alexander back, who's been solid. And for this Rangers bunch, they have not been able to hit at home. I mentioned it. Arlington just absolutely suppressing offense thus far this season. You get this Rangers team away from home, though, and they're right around about league average in terms of road scoring, about 4.4 runs per game away from home. They're right now scoring at home more around about 3.5 runs per game. And Jake Jake Berger has been your main boom man between 9 and 10 home runs thus far this season, giving you less than a 300 on base, but you've got a lot of guys that are moving the line. Brandon Nimmo's been able to above a 265 for this team. All of a sudden, Jock Peterson, he's up to a 368 on base. He's been able to give you 8+ home runs. You've had Josh Young hit above a 300. Ezekiel Duran, about a 350 on base. Don't call his name Alejandro Ozuna has been able to give you over a 350 on base. Flip side for the Cardinals, they're in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. They only average about 4 runs per game at home, much more when they're away from home, but Jordan Walker continues to give you the boom. 13+ home runs, about a 350 on base, and then Alec Burleson, J.J. Weatherholt, these guys between about a 350 or so on base. Ivan Rare has been able to give you about a 386 on base, and Nelson Velasquez in a small sample size has been solid. Still need a little bit more, the likes of a Nolan Gorman, Pedro Baez, Thomas Segisi, throwing their Victor Scott as well, but overall the offense has been relatively solid. But I do think that for the Rangers, having that bullpen pitching is going to be just enough to get the job done, and I do think that they get to Palante here. So semi-total at an 8.1. I'm in on the Rangers at any sort of plus money on the money line, and personally, I would rather have an 8.5 to the under rather than an 8 to the over. Semi-total at an 8.1, so looking at that under. 975, 976 on the card. The Athletics are going to be on the road against the Cubs. Colin Reyes has hit Pepper Ray to another start, and Jeffrey Springs is on the bump for the Athletics. The total on this game is 9, under is minus 115, over is minus 105. For the Cubs, they're between minus 118 and minus 125 favorites. Even money to plus 110 is that number on the Athletics, and I set the A's at a plus 146. I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Cubs. I know that's been rough for the Cubs here recently, but you saw plenty of guys who are able to get on base, and you do have a guy that's going yard and Ian Happ. He has not been hapless for the team thus far this season. He's been able to give you 13+ home runs. For the Cubs, they had a tough time going yesterday, and they just have been really unlucky with men in scoring position over the last few weeks. Like, you look at this entire roster, really, other than Dansby Swanson, the consistent starters have all been able to give you over a 330 with regards to on base. Maisis Ballesteros has been a little bit below that as well, but you just need to get the deep ball working. Say Suzuki, it seems like hasn't gone deep in any on. Pico Armstrong is getting on base a little bit more, but the power's been lacking. Nico Horner has regressed a little bit, so you've had some issues there, but I do think that these guys are going to be able to find it a bit more. And for the Athletics, they've been right around about a league average offense thus far this season. Carlos Cortez has been great, hitting above a 300, but you've had a lot of injuries and just a lot of issues for Brent Rooker. Henry Boltason's coming up to the big league level. Not a lot of power, but about a 370 on base, and now you've got Nick Kurtz, who's up to 11 home runs. Power was lacking towards the beginning part of the season, but he's been great in terms of drawing walks. 440 on base. That's towards the top of all baseball. Tyler Soderstrom does continue to struggle, though, with hitting about a 225, and this has been a Cubs bullpen that's been really good. They've been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen rate after having some issues to begin the season with regards to injury. You get Daniel Palencia along Caleb Theobar back. Colby Milner has been able to give you a sub 250 ERA. The mix and match guys like Ethan Roberts and company are doing their part. And for the Athletics, it's a better bullpen than it was last season. Justin Sterner still hovering right around about a 4 ERA, but Luis Medina, Joel Kuhnel, Scott Barlow, these have been guys who have been able to hold down the fort, throwing their Hogan Ayers with a sub 350 ERA. Don't want any part of Mark Leiter Jr., and then Jack Perkins has been all over the place as well. And for Jeffrey Springs, he just hasn't really impressed me thus far this season. For Springs, he's been a little bit better when he's been away from home rather than at home. That goes back to last season as well, but 407 ERA, 471 field lead dependent, 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, only getting about 7.7 punch-outs per 9, and for Colin Ray, 470 ERA, a little bit lower, 457 field lead dependent, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. His 8 or so strikeouts per 9 is actually up for him, so I do think that the Cubs get the job done here. Did somebody tell 9.2? The wind is going to be blowing out, not overly much, but probably like 6 or so miles per hour, so I do like the over. Somebody told 9.2, and the Cubs on the money line up to a minus 145, 977, 978 on the card. The Pirates are on the road against the Houston Astros. Spencer Arrigetti's Mom Spaghetti is on the bump for the Stros, and Paul Skeens is on the bump for the Pirates, and the Pirates do find themselves as a pretty good size favorite here. You're going to be laying between minus 152 to a minus 162 there. Also seeing a minus 150, plus 130 to plus 140. That's your number on Houston. 7.5 is the total. Over to minus 110 to a minus 120. The under is between even a minus 110. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Pirates, you're going to be finding that between plus 105 to a plus 110, and personally, I'd rather just take the chalkier minus 150 money line on the Pirates, set this at a minus 164. For Paul Skeens, had a little bit of a rough back half of May. I really do think that he's going to be able to find it once again, though. I looked better in his last start against the Cubs. I recognize they gave up 3 runs, only one of which was earned. He was able to get 10 strikeouts in a little bit over 5 innings, 289 ERA, 272 field dependent, 1.7 walks, 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's going to be just fine. And Spencer Arrigetti is just a prime regression candidate here. Like, I have no idea how he's got a 134 ERA. His fielding independent is about triple that. 398, 5 walks per 9 innings, and that's especially dangerous when you're backed up by a Houston Astros bullpen that has been absolutely awful. Now, the good news is you get Josh Hader back. That's going to be a lot about this bullpen a little bit because they've dealt with injuries throughout the season, but you still have someone like an AJ Blueball that's been supplying over a 4 ERA. Alniel De Los Santos certainly has not been the answer for this team. All the mix and match guys like JP France and company just have not been able to pan out for this team. Steven Okert down to about a 3.33 ERA, but Brian Abreu, he yacked up even more runs yesterday. Flip side for the Pittsburgh Pirates, you've had some issues with guys that were very rock solid last season. Justin Lawrence, Dennis Santana, these guys are above a 3.50 with regards to their ERA. Yohan Ramirez, he has been messed with recently, but Kerman Moljinski has been pulled from the starting rotation with Jared Jones coming back. He should be able to lend a little bit of relief. Gregory Soto has actually been really good as well, and this Pirates team continues to be a top 5 team in terms of run creation. Brandon Lau along with Oneil Cruz have been your main boom guys. Both of these guys have been able to give you between 13 and 14 home runs apiece. Actually, with Lau, his home run yesterday got him to 15 home runs thus far this season, and plenty of guys to be able to move the line along with Spencer Horwitz at 385 on base, Brian Reynolds a 400 on base, Ryan O'Hearn 375, Nick Gonzalez is hitting a 300. So I really 1 through 9, aside from typically like the catcher spot, this team has been pretty solid. Meanwhile, for the Astros, Yordan Alvarez, Christian Walker doing their part. Walker 15 plus home runs, hitting at 250. Yordan Alvarez 21 bombs, over a 400 on base. Jeremy Pena not really giving you a lot of power, but he's finding a way on base. But these guys at the bottom of the lineup, Zach Cole, Zach DeZenzo, Bryce Matthews, Cam Smith, Jake Myers, they're all giving you a sub 315 on base, really not giving you a lot of power whatsoever. So do think that the Pirates go out there, get the job done. I do think that's a lower scoring game with Skeens getting back online. Like the under, so by total 7.4 for the Pirates, willing to lay that money line, set them at a minus 164. Wrap things up with 979, 970 on the card. The Rockies are going to be on the road against the Angels. Walter Yarena is on the bump for the Halos, and Michael Lorenzen goes for Colorado. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 115, under is minus 105. Angels between minus 155 to minus 165 favorites, plus 135 to as high as plus 145. That number on the Rockies. Set my money line price at a minus 157 if you're looking to lay a run half with the Angels. That's right around plus 130. I'd rather lay the money line here. I know that it's shocking. I know that the Angels are terrible, but with Walter Yarena, he's been really good for this team. The one fear is that they're going to get to the bullpen very early because he has been giving up right around about 5 walks per 9 innings, but Yarena, 244 ERA, 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, a little bit over 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and Michael Lorenzen has not been good. 7.22 ERA, 1.6 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings, as is the case with a lot of Colorado pitchers, though. He's been much better away from him, 5.04 ERA away from him, 9.67 ERA at home. And for this Rockies bullpen, you've had Antonio Senzatella actually be really good. He's been able to supply a sub-2 ERA this far this season, but now Zach Ognos above a 5 ERA. You've got a pair of guys in Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Herget on the injury list. Brandon Bernardino about a 4 ERA. Seth Alverson has been solid. Jane Nill sub 350 ERA. And for the Rockies, they continue to be a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation away from them. They've gotten it going in this series. Jake McCarthy is looking pretty solid. He's been able to give you about a 335 on base. Aside from Hunter Goodman, really nobody that's healthy because Mickey Moniak is on the injury list with over 7 home runs, and Goodman got his 15th home run of the season yesterday, so shout out to him. TJ Ronfield, he is a man with 7 home runs, about a 355 on base. Trey Johnson is moving line with about a 370 on base, but need more of these guys like an Ezekiel Tovar, Edouard Julien, Thompson out there in the outfield, a lot of guys hitting at 225 or lower. And for the Angels, you've been able to have Mike Trout continue to be himself, 12 plus home runs, over a 400 on base, and now you've got Zach Neto who's been able to give you double figure amount of homers. He's up to about a 335 on base. Joe Adele, not giving you a lot of on base, but he has been able to give you some bombs as well. Peraza has been one of the main guys moving the line, hitting about a 280, and Donovan Walton in a small sample size has been able to 300 or so for the Angels. Obviously, this bullpen is a big giant roll of the dice, but Kirby Yates coming out the injury should help out the team. Zach Bachman has been dealing with a little bit of an injury, might not be available here, but Chase Silseth, he's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Jose Firminez went down the toilet bowl, and Brent Suter looks a little bit washed, but I do think that Yarena gives you a good start, and I do think that it holds down a Rockies team that just really doesn't hit away from them. Like the Angels on the money line, set them at minus 157, and I do like the under, so I tell it at 8.1. That wraps things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast Rob's Best Bets. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at G_81. Keep in mind, there's naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like here on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much.